Oh boy. If this boss has taught me anything, it's why Armadillo pieces are so expensive and how to not have fun at a boss. That's right, today I'm taking on Kree'arra, the Armadillo boss here at God Wars. Just from looking at guides online and hearing some stories from my friends, this one's not going to be fun at all. So today I hope to knock out all the combat achievements here so I never have to come back. Hello everyone, my name is Nick and I'm on an adventure to improve my skills at RuneScape while hunting down these 4 items. Following the simplest rule set in the world, I hope to grind my way into greatness. This is getting good at RuneScape. Continuing my mini grind to next, I flipped a coin and decided to take on Kree as my third boss to tackle here at God Wars. Now in terms of technical difficulty, Kree could be argued as the easiest here at God Wars. As far as my search went, there isn't really any fancy mechanics you have to learn, there's no weird run patterns, it's pretty much all about damage and surviving as long as possible. For those who have never taken on Kree, this boss uses all 3 combat styles, which is rather unique, and hits like an absolute truck. He attacks every 3 ticks or 1.8 seconds and maxes out a 69 in range, 21 with magic, and 26 with melee. The good news is there's a way to avoid 2 of these attacks. Kree can only melee you if you're not targeting him, so if you're standing around the room attacking another minion or just waiting for him to get closer, that's when he's going to get close and attack you with his talons, and makes a very pleasant noise while doing so. The range attack can be avoided completely with the protection of range prayer, which means you just have to deal with the magic attack, which acts a little bit different than what you might expect. Kree's magic attack is classified as range magic. According to the wiki page, that means the accuracy rolls against the player's range defense bonuses rather than magic. So the traditional range gear that you're probably going to be wearing here is going to get chewed up real quick. So with the boss flying, the only reliable way of killing him is with range or mage. I plan on exploring both options here as well, so that should be pretty fun to see. Aside from Kree, there are of course the minions, doing all 3 combat attacks like you expect, and they max out a 15, 16, and 25 respectively. The boss does drop some fantastic items though. The Armadillo helmet is going for 10 mil, the chest plate is around 40 mil, the legs are at 30 mil, and all of these are at a 1 in 381 drop rate. The hilt is going for 10 mil, and all the shards are around 160k a piece. So Kree just may have one of the better unique tables here at God Wars. Before you jump into the room, there is a weird requirement which I completely forgot about, and that's the mithril grappling hook. A player must wield a crossbow and a grapple to make it over to this area, which means there goes at least 1 if not 2 of your inventory slots just to get here. There are ways to get around this, like dropping pots on both sides and teleporting out and back in, or however you want to go about it. I'm just here for the combat achievements though, so I'm not going to really stress about it too much. The next order of business here is of course to follow our minion count. If you're going to use ecumenical keys at any point at God Wars, this is probably the boss to do so, as killing the minions for KC is not fun or quick. If you have an aviancy task, which I highly recommend you have before doing this, the minions outside the room and in the room count towards that Slayer task, which means you're going to get less KC on the boss. Speaking of Slayer assignments, I don't have this unlocked, and I don't really plan on doing that either. This will probably make things super interesting down the road while I tackle these tasks as well, but good luck to me. Regardless, the first thing I did to prepare for this grind was to get the Wilderness Hard Diary done. I'm going to be using keys for every entrance here, and I think it's time for me to finally unlock the obelisk that I've had in my house for months at this point to quickly teleport my way over to the Wilderness version of the God Wars dungeon. So with a few tasks remaining to get that diary done, the Wildy Hard Diary was completed and the quick teleports to the cave has been unlocked. Now this may be a personal thing, but I felt like I was going to go insane hunting these keys and it made Kree grind just so much worse. I have the Elite Combat achievements completed, which means the ecumenical keys drop at a rate of 1 in 50, but sadly the max amount of keys that you can have at any time is 3. There are a ton of low-level monsters here, like the imps, goblins, and pyro and ice fiends though, so you can get a lot of kills here really quickly. As long as you do damage to the target before they die, you receive the loot. So using this gear along with my inventory, I was tagging minions left and right to try to speed this up. Some of the trips were super quick, which I desperately needed. The fastest I got 3 keys was only 5 minutes, while the longest took 45 minutes. I was actually losing my mind and I checked the bank twice during this grind, but yeah, 45 minutes straight to get the keys. I guess the RNG guys kind of looked away at this point. After getting the keys, I think it's time for me to take on the boss. As always, here's my starting collection log. I have 3 KC here, and it's safe to assume I haven't been here in years and I have no idea what's going on. I will cover the strategies I typically use later on in the video as well, as some of the tasks are just getting straight KC limits, but I wanted to knock out the combat achievements first and get them out of the way as soon as possible. The first one I'm going to tackle is the worst range weapon. Gearing up in my brand new Bandos armor, which you can check out that video here or in the description if you missed it, I think this gear is going to be more than enough to get the job done. In the inventory, I have of course food for the kill, the crossbow and grapple as needed, 2 combat potions, the ecumenical key, 5 restores, the hilt to get here, the unholy symbol, the armadillo helm for minion protection, and a teleport out. I made sure to turn the scorch attack style on, which is technically slash, and headed right into the room. The general strategy here is just to walk under the boss when I can't attack him. This greatly slows down the boss's attack rate and gives me time to heal up if I need to. Whenever I'm able to attack, I click the boss and send out my attack before running right back under him. In total, it took me 2 attempts to get done, and the full kill lasted just shy of 4 minutes to complete. After this was done, I bought the armadillo top and bottoms and a Justy helm for added protection. The next trip I went in with only the T-bow and blood barrages to get me through, and once again here's my armor in inventory. The goal for this trip was just to get used to Arma's damage and complete the master task of Swoop No More, which I completed on KC number 6. If you're thinking of taking on this challenge yourself, the armadillo crossbow and the buckler combo is fantastic, as well as the bofa as always. I decided to use these weapons and they're not required to get the task done at all, it just helps speed this up. The next task on the bucket list was collateral damage, which is to kill the boss without directly targeting him. Just clicking on the boss, thus aggroing onto him, fails the task immediately, so the melee attacks are gonna be pretty rough. Thankfully, with enough brews and chins, this task wasn't that hard to complete. After sending chins at the melee minion, I just tanked his attacks that came my way and waited for the minion to respawn and just repeated that cycle. It took 3 minion kills before this task was completed, knocking out the last master task here as well. Next on my to-do list was Airborne Showdown, which is to kill Kree while all of his minions are dead. To do this, I changed around the gear slightly, bringing in the Serp helm and the blowpipe. After getting a hit on the ranged minion, thus getting a venom on it, I continued the kill as normal with chins. Once the melee minion was low, I ran around the room and killed the mage minion. Right after he died, the last venom hit the ranged minion, killing him as well, and I started sending chins back at the melee minion until he was down as well. After a few twisted bow hits, this task was done. With all these tasks completed, the only ones that I had left was getting KC and pretty much just surviving in the room. The Adept task is to get 50 KC, the Veterans achievement is to get 100 KC, and finally we had the Grandmaster task of Feather Hunter, which is to kill the boss 30 times in a private instance without leaving the room. At this point, I only have 8 KC here, so I think it's time to test out the popular methods and get used to them. I just want to see how far I can extend a trip here before paying for the private rooms. The first method I tried out was the chin method. I decided to use red chins, which is much slower than black chins, but it's at a third of the cost. For the gear, I'm using the Justy helm, which works for Sarah protection, the armadillo top and bottom, which of course protects from armor minions, Zamorak boots for the same reason, chins and the twisted buckler for some range damage and some protection, dragon arrows, the anguish assembler, barrow's gloves, and finally the ring of suffering. In the inventory, I have the twisted bow, blowpipe for the minions, 2 bastion potions, the ice ancient scepter for blood barrage, the key, 6 brews, 10 restores, a crossbow and grapple to get here, bones to peaches tabs, the hilt to get the god wars, a teleport out, and the room pouch. There are a ton of videos online that is going to showcase exactly what I'm doing in a little bit more detail, and also give you a little bit more inspiration for the gear that you can use to take on this boss. For the quick and obvious changes, the crystal bow is going to work fine here, as well as the ACB or pretty much any crossbow that has some enchanted bolts. Using a crossbow also allows you to use an offhand item that would be very nice as well. The Justy helm is something that I'm just wearing. It gives Sarah protection and added defense bonuses, but could be easily exchanged out for any koi for range helm for that matter. The only time that you interact with the Sarah warriors is right when you enter God Wars dungeon, and you really just run away from them anyway, so you could just skip this. That goes for the Zamorak piece as well, since there's only a handful of those minions in the Kree area, and majority of the time I just run right past them without any fear. The armadillo pieces are pretty obvious that you need for protection since, you know, you're going to Kree. With that said, the chin method is incredibly simple. The only thing you have to get used to is just the simple timing. Once you enter the room, you stand on the southwest corner and wait for the melee minion and Kree to get really close to you. Once they stack together, you throw a chin at the melee minion and click onto Kree. Doing this damages the melee minion with a chin, which has much lower defenses than Kree, allowing splash damage to hit both targets. The reason why you attack Kree after throwing the minion is to stop his melee attacks. Once your character is about to throw another chin, click the melee minion again, throw the chin, and click back to the boss. That's really it. You just repeat that cycle a few times. It only took me a few kills to get the timing down, so it's not that bad. After a while though, the minion does die and it's time to swap over to either your twisted bow or whatever range gear you have, walk under the boss and attack him when you can. If you need to heal during either the chin throwing part or after, walk under the boss and heal then. Just make sure you wait an extra couple seconds before hopping back out. After the boss is dead, you kill the minions however you want. Some of the kills, the melee minion will respawn before Kree'arra dies, and I use him to blood barrage both the melee and ranger, finishing off the room with the mage minion, which I use my blowpipe specs if I needed to, if not just killed him with range. After 45 kills of doing this method, I ended up dying and losing all my chins, so I think this is a perfect spot to switch over to mage. Of course, I'm going to be rocking the same set that I used for most of my magic adventures, with the Honorable Blessing and the Sarah Stole for protection for when I first enter God Wars. Most of the time when I enter, I get hit by either the melee or ranged Sarah warriors down here, but you can easily just skip the Sarah protection and run right over to Arma. In the inventory, I have the Ancient Ice Scepter for blood barrages and ice barrages, the Ward for offhand, 6 brews for anglers, 9 super restores, the hilt for tellies, crossbow and grapple, occult switch for when I enter the area, the key, a teleport out, and the rune pouch. The two methods I tried out are pretty similar. The first one, you start off the kill next to the mage minion spawn and attack the boss as soon as he appears. When the melee minion stacks on top of the mage minion, I freeze both of them and stand underneath them, or at least I try to. Doing this blocks the damage from both minions as long as Kree'arra doesn't knock you away, so the only damage that you take is from Kree'arra's mage attack. The downside of this, at least for someone that's doing this off task, is the freeze usually doesn't last long enough to get the kill on Kree'arra before the minions are unfrozen. So it's probably better to really only worry about the other method I used if you're like me and you're off task, which is just walking under the boss and freezing the melee minion whenever possible. This does result in more damage taken since I'm taking damage from the mage minion as well, but however you want to do it, I did find the mage method was slightly more enjoyable than the chin method. The chins just got rather boring and tedious with the clicks, but to be honest, doing either of the methods off task isn't enjoyable at all, which I guess is why armor pieces are so expensive in the first place, as I really can't see anyone grinding the boss out without being on task, as it's really not that much fun. So less armor pieces are coming into the game, and those that are probably existing are being used to create the fortified Missouri pieces, which is probably driving up the prices even more. But after a few kills, I reached the Adept achievement, and then after another 50 kills, I completed the Veterans achievement. Of course, this wouldn't be one of my videos without my RNG going stupid, so on KC number 86, well, this is some fun lag. No, I did not just get a helm. What? No, there's no way I deserve this. Hey, 10 mil though, I'll take it. With the new helmet to my name and the Veterans achievement done, I did come to the realization that getting Feather Hunter achievement was pretty much out of the question. At least for me at this time. Without having Aviancies unlocked, I just can't see myself completing this task, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. The longest I was able to stay in the room doing the chin method was only 16 kills before I was out of supplies. I probably would go a lot farther if I used black chins instead of red chins, but I don't think I'd still hit that 30 KC amount. I did get closer to the mage method, which the longest run I had was 19 KC before running out of healing options, but I'm just going to say that was more luck than anything, as I was getting a bunch of food drops from the minions, and the mage minion just meant I was taking so much damage that I was just constantly running out of food. So until I unlock the Aviancies, the Feather Hunter is just going to have to wait for another video. That's all that I have for you today. In total, I killed the boss 97 times, and here's the total loot that I logged. I did end up getting a God Sword Shard 2 drop on KC number 48, and received a God Sword Shard 1 drop on KC number 69. Like always, my loot tracker missed one kill, and it happened to be the kill where I got the Arma Helm drop. So in total, I saw 12.23 mil worth of loot in my 97 kills here. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would mean a lot to me if you liked and subscribed to the channel, so you can always see the next crime that I'm going to take on next. I'm curious to hear about your thoughts on Kree'arra though. This place was way less packed compared to all the other areas in God Wars, so I was wondering if the community just unanimously hates this boss as much as I do, or if there's something else going on. In the end, I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon. Stay inspired.